Five Nights at Candy's is definitely one of the most well-known popular Five Nights at Freddy's fan games out there to this day. And within good games in the FNAF community would obviously come with a list of fan games, and possibly fan games of those fan games. And I'm not kidding when I say that. Candy's has a list of fan games just like Freddy's would, like Candy's 3 Reimagined or Candy's 3 Deluxe. But the fan game that stood out to me the most was definitely Five Nights at Candy's But Better. Candy's But Better is a fan game that acts as a custom night for the 3 currently released main games and mostly completely reworks them. It adds new challenges to take on like Blood 720 in Candy's 1, Ringing Nightmare in Candy's 2, and Rat and Cat All Challenges in Candy's 3. But Rat and Cat All Challenges isn't the only newly added challenge in Candy's 3 But Better. In fact, we're not even going to be talking about it. We're going to be talking about the infamous challenge known as Puppet Master All Challenges. And within those challenges comes a challenge called Shadow Vinnie. Shadow Vinnie is pretty much the same as regular Vinnie. Okay, I lied. He's an incredibly buffed Mega Vinnie that may be high on something. And I am not joking when I say that. This piece of garbage has ripped my sanity away entirely, and I'm still recovering. Keep in mind that this is only with Shadow Vinnie activated, and none of the original challenges. I was at first going to work my way up to PMAC, but after playing through Shadow Vinnie Nightmare Mode itself, I realized that may have not been the greatest idea. Seriously, I don't think I'll be touching PMAC for now. Shadow Vinnie Nightmare Mode itself seriously took a crap ton out of me, and I don't want to put so much torture on myself. It took me well over a week to take down Shadow Vinnie singularly. It was just so difficult for me, and that's mostly because I have a freaking skill issue! I'm being serious when I say this, I suck at this game. I legitimately cried on stream when I beat Night 6 in the Vanilla Candies 3, and that wasn't even that difficult as it only took me around 2 to 3 days. Well, at least in my opinion, it wasn't that difficult. Okay, I lied, it's incredibly hard. Shadow Vinnie, on the other hand, he took me 8! And people mostly complete PMAC within 7! Okay, enough about PMAC. Let's talk about Shadow Vinnie's Nightmare difficulty and how it completely destroyed my sanity. The Nightmare difficulty sets Shadow Vinnie's AI value to the max, which is 20, with each difficulty adding 5. That means Easy Mode's AI value is 5, Medium is 10, Hard is 15, and Nightmare Mode is obviously 20. At least that's what I'd imagine it to be, because I'm not an expert on diving into the game's code. I should point out that we're going to leave regular Vinnie out of this, because he sucks and he's boring. Shadow Vinnie, on the other hand, on his Nightmare difficulty hardly gives you any time to react, as he has a 0.75 second kill timer. But that's not the only way you can die to Vinnie. The other way is obviously through his patience meter. His patience is basically a set amount of time you have before he switches sides of the bedroom. Vinnie will always start in the room ready to attack no matter what. Unless it's regular Vinnie, who I mentioned sucks and is in no way relevant to this. As I was saying, Vinnie will always start out in the room ready to attack. He will start on either the left or right side, in which he will then go to the middle. After that cycle, he will then switch to either the left or right side again before going back to the middle again, in which he will then pick either the left or right side to go under the bed. The bed faces as you would expect. He's either on the left or right, and you have to lure him out by going up and facing the opposite direction. I should probably mention that Vinnie will not always be on the same side of the bed as he did when he went under. For example, if Vinnie picks the left side to go under the bed, he will not always be on the left side under the bed. He can be on the right. When luring him out from under the bed, you need to make sure your mouse cursor is as closest to the middle as possible, but not in the middle. If your mouse cursor is in the middle or is way too close to the middle, you will get killed before he even comes up. The bedroom is split up into 3 sections: the right, middle, and the left. It does not matter how far to the middle the player is facing, only your mouse cursor. On the right side, you can use the bedpost as reference, and on the left, you can use the indent in the wall as reference to how close to the middle you should be. As soon as he comes up from under the bed, he will instantly stand up and be ready to attack once again. And you need to be fast when facing him, because it does not take long for him to kill you. So no, you do not get any time to rest, excluding the time he takes to come out from under the bed. He will attack you for the entire night. If you can pull this off for around 6 to 8 minutes, then you're good. But don't think it'll just be as simple the whole time. His attack cycle will change throughout every hour of the night, becoming more and more unpredictable and less consistent. For example, at 12 AM, Vinnie will only do slow spins and then switch positions by doing a fast spin afterward. At 1 AM, he sometimes does fast spins and gets faster. And throughout every hour, the fast spins become more consistent and Vinnie will become faster. At 5 AM, however, Vinnie will completely stop doing slow spins and will do anything he can to trip you up and make you fail, as he does only fast spins. This is where most of my deaths and other people's deaths occur, because consistently doing fast spins at Vinnie's speed is insanely difficult to do, especially when you panic. Because by the 3 to 4 AM mark, your nerves are probably going haywire already. That's why it's super important to try and keep yourself steady, which is way easier said than done. Now you may be thinking, oh, it's just him getting faster with more fast spins and bed phases. That is where you are wrong. At 3 AM, his bed cycle will change completely. He will no longer wait for you to lure him out, as he's a dumb piece of crap and is so impatient. He will straight up do twitches and movements under the bed. And if you're too slow under the bed at any point at or after 3 AM, his patience from under the bed will carry to when he comes up. Allow me to clarify. Let's say you're very slow under the bed and his patience ends up being around 300, which is very low, by the way. That means when he comes up from the bed, his patience will still be 300, and it will not change unless he switches sides of the bedroom. His patience is different every hour, with his patience starting at 5,000 at 12 AM and being 12,000 at 5 AM. This is most likely due to him not doing slow spins anymore completely at 5 AM, and the game doesn't want you to fail too much here. Well, let me tell you this, pal. When you're panicking and shaking and completely avoiding his hitbox, his patience decreases rapidly the higher the difficulty goes. I don't know too much about patience values at each difficulty, but I do know that at each difficulty, the patience will decrease faster depending on how high the difficulty is. Now with all that said, let's talk about my experience with Shadow Vinnie. Rewind to all the way back when I first got Candies But Better. I was just learning the game's new mechanics and what it had in store. I only played more of Candies 3 But Better because, in my opinion, it's the best game out of the But Better series. I had played quite a bit of Vanilla Candies 3 beforehand, as well as completing Night 6. I was originally going to do the Shadow Knight along with its additional challenges in Vanilla Candies 3, but I decided to skip it because I really wanted to stream Candies 3 But Better. In Candies 3 But Better, you can choose to play against Rat and Cat or Monster Vinnie on a set of 4 difficulties: Easy, Normal, Hard, and Nightmare, which I had mentioned earlier. We're obviously not going to talk about Rat and Cat, as they're not relevant to this. Only Monster Vinnie and his additional challenge known as Shadow Vinnie. Let me reword that. Shadow Vinnie is the only thing relevant to this because Monster Vinnie sucks. I first started out with easy mode, because I wasn't going to just start with the hardest difficulty the moment I entered the game for the first time. I was still pretty rusty at the time because I hadn't played Candies 3 itself in a while, but it was still manageable at least. Fast forward to when I beat it, it wasn't too much of a big achievement as it wasn't too difficult. It took me a few attempts to complete easy mode, but I then went on to try out the medium difficulty, in which, I kid you not, I beat on my first ever try. After I completed medium mode, I decided it was time to start streaming the game and work my way up to PMAC, which I am no longer touching at the moment, and I'll get to why shortly. Hard mode truly proved itself to be a challenge, in which I spent my first 2 streams trying to complete. At this point on, I was actually searching up tutorials and asking for help, in which I was then notified that Nightmare mode actually wasn't too different from hard mode, so I decided to skip hard mode entirely and move on to Nightmare. This, of course, wasn't the greatest idea, but it was still manageable to do, as they were proven right. There actually really wasn't too much of a difference between hard and Nightmare mode, as it was only the AI level that was different. Nightmare mode also proved itself to be a challenge, but again wasn't too different as I was dying at the same times and reasons as hard mode. I was just too slow.
And yet I had the audacity to be confused on what I was doing wrong.
I was having so much trouble that I genuinely felt as if I couldn't do it, until I got the practice mod. The practice mod allows you to enable certain challenges or nerfs depending on your skill level, and allows you to also start at any hour with that same cycle, allowing you to get more and more consistent with different cycles and the way they change. I was getting so good at the practice mod that I was practically never leaving his head anymore entirely, but that's not to say I didn't die often. This would repeat until I would reach around 4 or 5 AM. As I've previously mentioned, 5 AM is where most of the deaths occur, as Vinnie will stop doing slow spins entirely and will try to screw you up in any way possible. This was so incredibly infuriating, as dying to the brink of victory and finally being over with it so many times was always so rage-inducing, to the point where I always needed to take a break. Vinnie would always find any way to make me angry and upset and cause me to take breaks more often and longer than I should be, causing me to lack skill. But I wasn't ready to back down. I was getting so close and giving up wasn't really an option at this point. Though the game was causing me to rage and go insane quite a bit, I wasn't done until Shadow Vinnie's Nightmare difficulty was done. I had continued to practice specifically any hour ranging from 3 to 5 AM in the practice mod, as that was normally where I was getting tripped up and failing. Mostly at 5 AM of course though, due to him doing only fast spins. I was playing the practice mod so much to the point where one of the worst things possible managed to happen. I was playing the practice mod so much to which it got to a point where I freaking beat Shadow Vinnie's entire Nightmare difficulty in the practice mod! I'm doing it! I did 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 it! I freaking did it! I freaking did it! Oh yeah! What? Practice mod? No! This obviously crushed me. I may have not shown up behind the screen as I was cheering, saying how goated I was even though I actually sucked at the game, but inside I have never felt so crushed in my entire life. It was my set goal at the moment to beat this one incredibly challenging night, and I had just beaten it illegitimately, meaning I had to force myself to endure all of this torture again. From this point on, I was absolutely done with the practice mod and was not risking anything anymore. I was genuinely considering giving up, because it was too much for me to handle and I was so done. From this point on, I only used the practice mod unless it was to practice 5 AM, as I no longer wanted to risk this happening again or I truly wouldn't be able to push through with this. I then began going back to playing the actual Candies 3 but better, and I had a few flunks. But I decided to play a little bit more to a point where I finally, eventually managed to get this to happen. Whatever. Just, it's just another round for me.
I'm just not gonna get 5 days.
What?
Yeah. Like, every day is not a good day.
Vinnie sucks. Did you guys know that there's actually a spinning Vinnie in my bedroom right now? He's very spinny. He likes to spin. He's my pet puppet. And I'm going to kill him! Once I beat him, I'm going to drive around my entire state screaming, I beat up a puppet. What do you mean it's mean? Dude, he literally has a bajillion kills for me. Too many more to count. If someone
And?
What do you mean, and? He's not very nice.
Okay.
I have to kill you now, sorry. But I'm not giving up that easily. So, it's a good thing I'm not, because I would not be showing any progress if I did. I would have let Vinnie win a long time ago. Go to speed. That was slow. That was very slow. Take your order. No! You may not take my order. Although, actually, you can take my order. I'll have Vinnie's head on a plate. Thanks. If you can genuinely get that prepared, I will be so happy. What do you mean you can only do it when I beat him? Ugh, that's not fair! I'm just too slow for bro. What was that? That was one of the most awful spins I've ever done! That was so crap! I'm gonna get myself killed from this. That was the worst spin ever in human history. Let it be known, Stuckleek is stupid. Or just don't kill me.
It was been known.
It was been known? Is that what you just said?
3 AM.
No.
This is where I died last time, so let's not die there again. Well, it's not really now, it's 3. Yeah, let's not die there again, thanks. Or else I'll have to kill you! Ugh, can I stop panicking, please? Yay! Always go to the left from now on, Vinnie, because the left is just a nicer spot. He does a much slower and, smaller spins in the left side, so unlike on the right, it has faster and bigger spins. No, actually, I feel like it would actually be the exact opposite. Whatever, let's not focus on that and let's lock in now. Yay! I didn't die here again! What you doing under the bed, Vinnie? That was... Stop it! Stop! Monster Vinnie, he come to take your organs.
What are you doing?
Excuse me?
What are you doing?
Heart rate is rapid right now.
You're locked in.
Last one! When the tape is done, I should be done with the night. Let's do this.
You got this.
Let's be over with it and finally get it.
You did it.
I freaking did it! Shadow Vinnie's Nightmare difficulty was finally done, and I was not coming back to it. At first, I thought I was going to work my way up to PMAC, but after a few days of having my sanity absolutely demolished by this one stupid freaking idiot, I decided that it wasn't such a good idea, and I scrapped the thought. And I'm sure happy I did, because from now on, I would prefer to keep my sanity. Well, unless you guys have other plans for me. If you guys really think I should try Shadow Rat and Cat next, be sure to leave a comment and let me know your thoughts. With all that said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.